Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The close range meta here in Warzone honestly is pretty balanced here in Season 5 because of some of the buffs and some of the nerfs that we got with the Season 5 patch notes originally. And so today, I wanted to go through and break down the best weapons to use for those close range engagements. Starting first with a pretty fun one, we've got the TR2 CQB conversion kit, the aftermarket part for this. This is able to compete with SMGs in a lot of ways. TTK wise, it's right up there with some of the meta SMGs, and it's a lot more mobile, obviously, than the base TR2. So this is a pretty fun aftermarket part to run, in my opinion. Obviously, the most important part of the whole setup is this TR2 CQB auto conversion on here. Now, this does limit some of what you're able to run for attachments here. For instance, we can't run a barrel, so I do go for the compensator. There is some noticeable recoil on this thing, so this just makes things a little bit easier. They're a little bit more accurate. Vertical foregrip go into attack that horizontal control as well and make it a lot more predictable to use. You get one magazine attachment. It's a 50 round extended mag. That's going to work for pretty much all squad sizes. We got a 723 RPM, which is not too crazy, so the damage per mag is not going to be like alarmingly bad or anything. Then I do like the quick draw rear grip on here as well for that faster ADS speed. Just makes this thing a little bit more snappy, a little bit more aggressive, which is never a bad thing when you're trying to take a weapon that's not an SMG and make it compete against SMGs. And this thing's able to do so pretty efficiently. Now, of course, the bulk of the close range meta is going to be SMGs here. We will talk some sniper support as well towards the end of the video, but the Black Ops 6 SMGs absolutely run the close range meta. The Ladra, for instance, has an argument of being the best close range gun in the game. It is low recoil, although it does have some really good range as well. Fastest TTK basically in that first damage range, insanely agile as well. I love the feel of this thing. It's one of my favorite guns in the game, has been since it dropped. Long barrel on here gives us an effective damage range of 16.8 meters, sitting pretty there. Ranger foregrip, because as mentioned, this thing's pretty easy to use, so I don't go for max control because I do want some of that sprinting movement speed on there as well. We got extended 2 max extended mag, 66 rounder, a little bit more than your average 50 or 60 rounder, which is nice to see there. Quick draw rear grip for that snappier ADS, then infiltrator stock for the better strafe. This is a combo that you guys see me talk about all the time. It's just so effective for more aggressive builds, especially on guns that are easy to use like this. It makes you accurate and agile, just so effective. Now, maybe one of these days we'll talk about a new C9 setup, but today is not one of those days. This is still a close range meta option that is phenomenal. It's checking all the right boxes. Low recoil, aggressive, fast TTK, good damage range. This thing does nothing wrong. It does everything at a super high level. Here we got long barrel. We got an 18.2 meter effective damage range. They're phenomenal. Ranger foregrip again for that better control and that better movement. Extended 2 is going to be a 50 rounder. Not the greatest in the world, but it works for all squad sizes. Quick draw rear grip for a better ADS speed. Then I do like recoil springs on here, especially as I bleed into some mid-range fights with this occasionally because I do have it out for the mobility. This just makes it laser accurate. It's going to be so easy to stay on target with this. You can hit upper body shots consistently and really speed up that TTK with this on there, and it's already so aggressive as is. You're not necessarily missing out a ton by not having a stock or something on there, right? This thing really, like I said, hasn't changed in much time, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It fries. Now, I do personally love the feel of the Saug. This thing is so fun to run around with. It's still, I feel like, a little bit slept on as an SMG. People don't realize this is as good as it is, or they don't want to stray away from their C9 or their LC10 previously, right? But this thing is good. It is honestly really competitive in that first damage range and really hyper aggressive as well. Here, we got long barrel. We got a 15.2 meter effective damage range. That'll work just fine there. I do a lot of hip fire to ADS transition with this gun in particular. This and the PPSH is what I do it on the most. It's just sort of how I play with these guns. So G grip is really useful here. Hip fire to ADS accuracy gets improved and you get better recoil control, and the gun's already so aggressive you're not missing out by not having that sprinting movement speed from Ranger on there. Extended 2 is going to be a 55 rounder here. Not the craziest damage per mag in the world because this is a 909 RPM, but it'll be sufficient for all squad sizes there. I like commando rear grip for the better ADS and sprint to fire in this case, so you're a little bit more aggressive all around. And then once more recoil springs, horizontal and vertical control, just making the gun a lot more predictable and a lot easier to use. We mentioned the PPSH there. Why not follow up with this? Another spray and pray melt machine up close. Such a fun weapon and satisfying weapon to do well with here. Again, long barrel, like you're spamming on all your SMGs, 16.5 meter effective damage range on this one. G grip, yet again, this is probably the gun I do the most hip fire with just because it feels right on the PPSH, but that transition accuracy obviously is huge and can really speed up your TTK in those close range fights. Extended 2 here, again, only a 55, and we got a 952 RPM, so the damage per mag is not necessarily getting better here, but it's still not like, alarmingly bad by any means. It's going to be sufficient for sure. The stocks is really a matter of preference because essentially every single one of these is good. The agility for strafe and some ADS is solid. Ergonomic for slide to fire and strafe is good. Combat for sprint to fire and slide to fire is good. Quick draw for ADS is good. Infiltrator for strafe is good. Balance for movement is good. I don't really use light stock for anything, but most of these you could use if you're just looking for that specific stat. I personally like agility the most on here. And then again, I've got recoil springs because free recoil control is never a bad thing to have. And by the way, as we're going through all the weapons and setups here today, if you guys enjoy the video, you find the info helpful, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, maybe you have not already subscribed, we should change that. Each and every day I got you covered with all things going on in COD, so feel free to hit that sub button and help get us closer to hitting 1 million subs. Next up here, a non-BO6 gun. I know, it's crazy, but it actually does exist. The MX9. This thing's got a quick TTK in that first damage range, and it's honestly pretty aggressive as well. Obviously, it's got that, MW weapon feel, but it's not too terrible. You can get used to it really quickly here. I don't like the base iron sight though, so I do go for the Ladra model 2023 in this case. Sonic suppressor basically going to work the same as all the other suppressors, extending out our range and our velocity, and then the Bruin S901 barrel will do more of the same there. Basically, we do get better damage range out of this, plus some firing aim stability and movement speed. So this is doing a lot for us. We end up with a 14 meter effective damage range, which is decent for what it is. It's like I said, got a quick TTK in that first damage range. You only get one extended mag. It's a 50 rounder, and that'll work here. And then lastly, I do use the C11 riser for that better sprint to fire and ADS, just to make this thing a little bit more aggressive. It's got a 93 millisecond sprint to fire. This thing is mad aggressive, and when you're that fast, when you're that agile, you can absolutely compete against those BO6 meta choices. But of course, we know Black Ops 6 guns are probably where most players will default, and that's why we're back here with the Kompakt spray and pray melt machine, one of the best TTKs in the game in that first damage range. You just got to be mindful of the accuracy here, because even though we've got extended 3 on this with a 60 rounder, it's got a 1091 RPM. You burn through those 60 rounds so fast, so you got to make your shots count, and that's why I go for compensator for the better vertical control, Ranger foregrip for the better horizontal control, and then also recoil springs for a little bit of both there. So we're going all in on the recoil control here, making this thing as accurate as we possibly can, basically, which is going to help out a ton. And then just to keep things aggressive, I do also go for the quick draw rear grip on there as well, just for that better ADS speed. So this thing is snappy. It's going to melt players. You just got to learn that recoil pattern so you can stay on target, and you're going to be set. Now, as mentioned, I do want to talk a little bit about some sniper support as well. I feel like that kind of bleeds into the close range meta a little bit. So the KSV is one of my favorite sniper support SMGs here. It's obviously going to be a lot more aggressive than a rifle for sniper support. It won't have maybe necessarily as good of damage out to some of the longer mid-range areas, but still so effective to pair with a CAT, an LR762, an HDR, a Victus, whatever your preference is there, right? So here I go for compensator just to help out with some of that recoil control. Long barrel, obviously we want to extend out that fast TTK. This is a 19.2 meter effective damage range, which is phenomenal there. Ranger foregrip, again, if you want to go all in on recoil control, opt for vertical instead. That's never a bad choice there. Extended 2, 50 rounder will work. This is only an 800 RPM, so by comparison, not as crazy with that damage per mag stat as some of those others. That'll be just fine. Then I do like balanced stock on here as well for some better movements. Infiltrator is a really good choice too. If you're not a huge fan of the irons, you can swap that out for an optic as well to help out in the mid-range with visibility there. But yeah, this thing's really dependable in that close range, and then especially in some of that mid-range as well. No surprise here, but the FFAR is a mid-range beast, which makes it perfect for sniper support. Obviously, first damage range, SMGs will typically be a better choice in this, but you get out to 10, 12, 15 plus meters, and this thing takes over, and it beats basically everything in the game at that range, right? So I'm not really a big fan of these irons either. I wish they were like the original FFARs. So I use the Otero red dot here. Works fine for really all those ranges that we're fighting at with this. Compensator for better vertical control, vertical foregrip for better horizontal control. They're just making the gun super predictable and easy. Extended 2, 60 rounder. That's going to work fine even with that faster RPM. And then I do really like infiltrator pad here as well for that better strafe speed. Really helps out in the mid-range where you're trying to be a little bit more aggressive there. You could also use quick draw rear grip if you wanted to in that place instead, but this thing will fry, and it's maybe the best sniper support in the game. I think it's got a pretty strong argument for that. And then lastly here, the Jack Raven kit for the MCW from MW3 is a fantastic sniper support choice as well. One of the fastest TTKs through 20 meters, which obviously works great for that sniper support territory here. Most important part of this setup is that Jack Raven kit, of course, completely changing how the MCW feels. I also go for a second aftermarket part with the Jack Cutthroat on here to help out with movement speed, better strafe speed. In general, it's just going to make it a lot more aggressive, which again is huge when we're trying to make a rifle feel like an SMG and compete in those ranges. 40 round extended mag is the max here. That's a little bit of a letdown, but you can make it work with that quick TTK. You'll have time to reload. Spirit fire suppressor for the better range of velocity. We have a 21, nearly 22 meter effective damage range, which is great, of course. And then also Ladra model 2023 or whatever scope you are the most comfortable with will work just fine here. But yeah, the close range meta, like I said, you've got options, and all of them are phenomenal. It really comes down to, do you like the feel of weapon A versus weapon B more? Okay, go for weapon A, but then the next person might like weapon B more, which is good. That means it's a more diverse meta, a little bit more competitive. I wish we had more MW2 and MW3 choices, but as of right now, that's how the close range meta plays out. If you enjoyed the video, you found it helpful, be sure to hit that like button, and on your way out, feel free to subscribe to stay up to date with all things going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.